Before you skip this story, I ask you give it a few minutes. Stay until the end. Because what you'll witness here is not just about a bakery. It's about what a woman can do with flour fire and faith, even when the world has already counted her out. This story might just remind you of your own strength, or your mother's, your sister's, your neighbor's. Watch to the end and ask yourself, if it were you, what would you do? It's 4:30 in the morning. The alarm clock blinks on a chipped wooden nightstand in a room that's colder than it should be. The blankets barely cover her shoulders, and her feet are already out of bed, brushing the icy tiles. Her name is Marisol, and this right here is her quiet war. She doesn't sigh. She doesn't complain. She doesn't hit snooze. Because there's dough to be kneaded, coffee to brew, and because her daughter Lena is still sleeping in the next room wrapped in a fleece blanket from Goodwill with faded unicorns that once had sparkles. The apartment is small. The bills are stacked on the fridge. But this is not a sad story. This is the beginning of something extraordinary. Marisol is a single mother. She's also a fighter, a baker, and a woman who believes deep down that warm bread can heal cold hearts. She opened her bakery 4 months ago. It doesn't have a name yet. The faded sign above the door still reads florist. She hasn't had money to replace it. What she does have is an old oven, one working ceiling fan, and recipes passed down from her grandmother in Guatemala. The kind of bread that smells like home, even to people who didn't know they missed it. But today is not like other days. She doesn't know it yet, but something different will happen. This will be the day a stranger walks in. This will be the day someone records a moment with their phone. This will be the day the neighborhood, the one that had long stopped looking at each other, begins to remember what community means. And it will all begin with 2 leftover loaves, and a choice that costs her money, but earns her something far more powerful. She ties her apron with hands that are dry from scrubbing floors and rolling dough. Her fingers carry tiny scars, baking burns, life burns, memory burns. She listens not to music, but to the silence of early morning, that holy hour before the world begins to scream. There are moments like now where the fear knocks. Rent is due in 5 days. Lena's shoes are too small. The mixer is making a strange sound. But she whispers to herself, just get through one more morning. She unlocks the bakery door. The sky is still navy blue. She flips the open sign, the cardboard one she made herself, and sets out the first tray of pan dulce still steaming. Cinnamon sugar and prayer. No one walks in yet. But in the quiet glow of the storefront light, something shifts. Not in the street. In her. Because she is still here. And that's the miracle. She has no idea that in exactly 17 hours, someone will write about her on Facebook. That in 4 days, a local news crew will show up. That in 2 months, someone she fed for free will come back with a check that saves the bakery. Right now, she only knows the world is broken, but maybe people still need bread. And she can make bread. She places 1 loaf on a napkin, puts it in a brown bag, and writes 3 simple words with a blue marker. Be kind today. She doesn't know whose hand will receive it. But someone's life and hers is about to change. The sun is barely rising, but inside the bakery, the oven glows like a quiet sun of its own. The heat fogs the front windows. A thin layer of flour dusts the floor, and Marisol's hands are already white with it. She works fast, methodically, with the rhythm of a woman who has no time to waste and no margin for error. There are no customers yet, just her, and the ticking of the wall clock, and the scent of cinnamon yeast and uncertainty. She kneads the dough with practiced strength, fold, push, fold, push. Every motion whispers a different story. I can't lose this place. My daughter needs school supplies. I can't let them shut me down. The electric bill sits on the countertop unopened. So does the notice from the landlord, final warning, in bold red letters. But she buries them under a towel. Right now, she's baking hope. 5 years ago, she didn't know anything about ovens or storefronts. She was cleaning hotel rooms, working night shifts, raising Lena, while her ex disappeared into the silence of his own bad decisions. But her abuela back in Guatemala used to say, si puedes hornear pan, puedes calentar el corazón de alguien. If you can bake bread, you can warm someone's heart. So when she was laid off from the hotel, she didn't cry, not then. She pulled out her grandmother's recipes. She took the last of her savings. She found this tiny crumbling rental space next to a pawn shop and prayed over the key. The bakery is only 4 months old. Some days she sells 20 loaves. Some days 3. The Yelp page has 2 reviews. One says the bread tastes like memory. The other just says, too soft. She doesn't have a marketing plan. She doesn't have a business degree. She doesn't even have a cash register, just a ceramic bowl labeled Gracias. But she has one thing she shows up every single morning. Even when her hands ache. Even when the power flickers. Even when Lena asks Mom, are we going to lose the shop? She lies. Gently. No, mi amor. We're just getting started. This morning, she burns the first batch. The oven thermostat is broken again. She throws out 6 loaves money time and hope into the trash. She wants to scream, but instead she closes her eyes and whispers something no one hears. Dios, si estás escuchando. Ayúdame a hornear algo que al menos salve el alma de alguien hoy. God, if you're listening, help me bake something that at least saves someone's soul today. And then just as she's placing new dough on the tray, the bell above the door rings. It's not a customer. It's a boy maybe 10 years old, skinny shoelaces, untied hair, like he just woke up. He doesn't speak, just stares at the loaves cooling on the wire rack. Are you hungry? She asks. He nods. She hands him a concha warm and soft, no charge. He mumbles thanks and runs. She watches him disappear down the sidewalk. And something inside her shifts. A strange warmth. The bread is feeding more than stomachs. It's feeding something deeper. That boy will come back tomorrow. And the day after. And in time, he'll bring someone with him. A grandmother, then a neighbor, then a teacher. It will all start here with one loaf. One act. But Marisol doesn't know that yet. Right now, she just takes a breath, wipes her hands on her apron, and whispers, one loaf at a time. As the first true customer of the day walks in, Marisol smiles with tired eyes and gestures toward the tray. Pan dulce made with extra heart today. Behind her, the oven hums. The flour clings to her skin like armor. And inside her chest, despite it all, there is still fire. It's 7:26 a.m. The sun finally pushes its way through the thin clouds. The light seeps into the bakery window like warm syrup casting golden lines across the counter and catching the glint of the metal trays. Marisol adjusts her apron and dusts off the display case. Inside it, 3 trays of Pan Dulce 6 cinnamon rolls and a fresh batch of vanilla cupcakes still cooling their smell thick in the air like sugar and Sunday mornings. She takes a breath. Today's going to be different. She doesn't know why she believes it, but something tells her, pay attention. Something's coming. At exactly 7:42, the bell jingles. Not loud, not confident. The door opens slowly. A man steps inside, not a boy this time. He looks worn. His coat is too big. His eyes flick from the bread to the cupcakes, then to the jar labeled Gracias. He doesn't touch anything. Marisol wipes her hands, smiles gently. Good morning, she says. He nods, but doesn't speak. His fingers twitch toward his coat pocket, then back away. He turns half ready to leave. Something in her heart whispers feed him. Without asking, she grabs a napkin, places a cupcake inside, and walks over to him. Here, she says, offering it with 2 hands. It's sweet, just like you deserve today to be. He hesitates. His eyes fill not with hunger, but with disbelief. As if this has never happened before. He takes it quietly, mouths the word thanks. And then before she can ask anything else, he's gone. Out the door, down the block, disappearing like smoke in wind. She doesn't know his name. She doesn't know where he came from or where he's going. But she knows that something changed. And the funny part is, it wasn't about the cupcake. It was about being seen. Being fed not just by food, but by kindness. By the message underneath it all, you matter. She remembers barely a time when she stood in a grocery store parking lot with a crying toddler and no money. When she looked at a vending machine and prayed someone would give her just $1. No one did. But now, here she is on the other side. And that moment, the lowest of her life, becomes fuel. Because maybe she didn't survive that moment for herself. Maybe she survived it. so she could make sure someone else doesn't go hungry in the same silence. By 9 a.m., a different woman enters. A teacher, it turns out. She saw a man sitting near the school crying, holding a cupcake, whispering about a woman with hands like home. She came to see for herself, buys 2 loaves, then posts a photo of the cupcake and the storefront to her Facebook with 1 sentence. There's a bakery on 4th Street that gives love, not just food. By 5 p.m., the post has 38 shares. Right now, she's just cleaning flour from under her nails, stacking trays, answering Lena's text, asking, "Can we have grilled cheese tonight?" She replies with a heart emoji and a thumbs up, knowing she'll probably eat the crusts left over from Lena's sandwich. That night, she counts the register. $42. Not enough, but she's not crying, because today she fed someone, and that someone told someone else. And somewhere a story is being born, not about a bakery, but about what happens when one woman decides not to let her circumstances define her generosity. Marisol locks up. Outside, the street is still. A dog barks in the distance. She presses her forehead to the cool glass of the bakery window and says aloud, "1 cupcake." That's all it took. She doesn't yet know it was never just a cupcake. It was a seed, and it has just begun to bloom. It's Thursday, the kind of Thursday that forgets how to be soft. The sky is angry. The clouds hang like bruises. Rain slaps the sidewalk without rhythm, like a fight no one asked for. The wind whistles through the alley beside the bakery, rattling the loose panel on the back door. Marisol unlocks the front entrance with one hand while shielding her face with the other. Her coat is soaked through before she even turns on the lights. A trickle of water races down her back like a cold warning, but still she shows up. She lights the stove. The pilot flickers. For a moment, the kitchen feels like the only warm place on the entire block. No customers will come today, she thinks. Who walks through rain for bread? Still, she bakes, because that's what she does. Because it's her rhythm. Because somewhere, someone might. By 6:15 a.m., the smell of fresh conchas curls around the room, like a blanket trying to comfort her. She hums to herself a tune without words, just to drown out the thunder. It happens fast. She lifts a tray from the oven, and the mitt slips just slightly, just enough. The tray crashes to the floor. 12 perfect loaves ruined. Flour bursts like smoke. The sound echoes louder than thunder. And for a moment, just a moment, it breaks her. She stares at the mess. Her hands shake. That was the flour she bought with the last $20. That was today's hope. Gone. She doesn't cry right away. She squats beside the mess, starts scooping pieces into a trash bin with trembling hands. Her apron catches the flour like snow. A loud gust of wind flings open the back door. She jumps. Then something moves. Not wind, not trash. Something alive. From the alley, soaking wet and shivering, limps a dog. Small, brown. Ribs visible beneath the matted fur. Its eyes are too tired to beg, too hopeless to run. Marisol freezes. The dog stares. Neither moves. Then, without a word, she sets down the scoop walks to the counter, grabs a burnt roll from yesterday's batch, and kneels. "Come on, Chico, just 1 bite." The dog approaches slowly, then faster. Eats gently, doesn't bark, doesn't bite. Just stays. She dries him with a towel. He lets her. She places him in an empty cardboard box by the heater. Puts a small bowl of water beside him. A tortilla folded in half. "You're hired," she says, "official bakery guard." The dog blinks. Something in her chest unclenches. It's not just about kindness. It's about companionship, the silent kind. It's about having someone to open the bakery with, even if he has 4 legs and no name. Because loneliness is a bigger hunger than anything bread can fix. And today, for the first time in a long time, she doesn't feel alone. No customers come that morning, not one. But she keeps the lights on. She plays an old record love songs from the 60s in Spanish and sips coffee from her chipped yellow mug. And she watches the rain. The dog sleeps by the heater. The oven hums. The world outside may be loud and cruel, but inside the bakery, there is peace. At 10:02 a.m., she looks down at her sleeping companion and whispers, "Pancho, you look like a Pancho." He doesn't respond, just twitches his ears. But in that moment, something blooms. The bakery is no longer just hers. It's theirs. Marisol doesn't know yet that Pancho will save her life. That the little dog will one day stop her from giving up? That he'll become the face of something bigger than either of them? For now, she just places a new tray in the oven and whispers, "We start again." It starts quietly like steam rising from a loaf still warm. The teacher who posted about the cupcake returns. She brings a friend this time, then two more. They each buy something small, a roll, a muffin, but they stay longer than they need to. They linger by the window. They talk to Marisol. They scratch Pancho's ears. And they leave with more than pastries. They leave with something Marisol can't put on a menu of feeling. It's not the cheapest bakery in town. It's not the fanciest. The display case still wobbles. The ceiling fan rattles like maracas when it's turned on high. The old florist sign still hangs outside confusing delivery drivers. But people are coming. They come because the air smells like memories. Because the woman behind the counter remembers your name. Because there's a dog sleeping by the heater who never barks but always watches. Something is shifting, not just in sales, in the people. One woman leaves a $10 bill in the tip jar, even though her order was only $3. A young man buys 2 coffees and gives one to the woman behind him. Someone leaves a potted plant on the window ledge with a note for the soul of this place. A retired man offers to fix the broken ceiling fan. Marisol refuses at first. He insists. By the weekend, it spins quietly. She almost cries. "I haven't seen people like this in a long time," she whispers to Pancho, who licks her hand. It's not that the neighborhood has changed overnight. There are still broken sidewalks, still sirens at 2 a.m., still graffiti on the dumpsters out back. But inside the bakery, something feels different. It's like people remember how to be soft, to look each other in the eye, to hold the door open, to say, "How are you?" and mean it. And it all started with bread. She doesn't understand marketing. She doesn't have a website. She barely knows how to post on Instagram. But she knows how to tell when someone walks in hungry for more than food. And she knows how to feed that hunger. With warmth, with words, with the kind of silence that says, "You're safe here." One afternoon, a woman comes in wearing a yellow scarf. She doesn't speak much. Just buys a cupcake, leaves a generous tip, and goes. The next morning, Marisol finds the scarf folded neatly on the front bench with a note tucked inside. "This place reminded me of my grandmother's kitchen. Thank you for that." She hangs the scarf on a hook near the register. It stays there like a flag waving in the wind of quiet kindness. Lena now 11 visits after school every day. She does homework in the corner booth with a cup of warm leche and a cookie. "Mom," she says one day, "why do people hug you after buying bread?" Marisol smiles. "Because they're not just buying bread." Lena nods slowly, as if understanding something too big for her age. Then she draws a sign in colorful markers, "Welcome to the Bakery of Big Hearts." They tape it to the door. By the end of the week, more and more customers walk in with that same hesitant look, as if they're not sure if they belong, and walk out with a look that says they do. One man tells Marisol, "I haven't talked to anyone in 3 days until I came here." Another says, "I drive past 2 other bakeries just to sit in this one." Marisol doesn't have the words to describe it, but she feels it. In the clink of the tip jar. In the worn-out floor that now carries more footprints. In the way the walls seem to listen better these days. And in her own chest where, for the first time in years, something warm is rising that she barely dares name. Belonging. It's Tuesday morning. The kind that begins without a warning. No wind, no sun. Just soft gray clouds, and the scent of cinnamon rolls baking on the second rack. Marisol wipes down the tables as usual. The radio plays something old and gentle in the background. Pancho snoozes under a bench legs, twitching in a dream. Lena, perched on a stool, is bent over a math worksheet, tongue sticking out in focus. It feels like any other day. Until the bell jingles. And she walks in. She's small, maybe 9 or 10, with dark eyes and a yellow backpack that's too big for her tiny frame. Her coat is 2 sizes too big sleeves covering her hands. She clutches a crumpled dollar bill like it's made of glass. She doesn't speak. She stares at the display, pointing at a concha with a pink swirl. Marisol smiles. "One of my favorites." The girl nods silently. Marisol carefully places the concha in a small paper bag and hands it over. The girl reaches up with both hands to offer the wrinkled dollar. Marisol gently takes it, but slips a second cookie into the bag. "Bonus," she whispers. "For courage." The girl's eyes widen. She doesn't smile, but she doesn't look away. And then she does something strange. She pulls a folded piece of notebook paper from her backpack, leaves it on the counter, and walks out. Marisol waits until the door closes and the bell stops echoing. She opens the note. The handwriting is shaky, uneven, probably written in the dark. Dear bakery lady, thank you for being nice. My mom doesn't smile anymore, but she eats your bread and sometimes she hums after. I think it makes her heart less tired. G. Marisol stands still, frozen. The words vibrate in her chest like a second heartbeat. She rereads the letter, again and again. A child barely old enough to understand the world saw something magical in her bread, in her space, in her smile. And it wasn't about food. It was about healing. Marisol remembers a woman who came in last week, quiet, pale, eyes sunken. She bought a roll paid in quarters and said nothing. She had that look the one Marisol once saw in her own mirror. The one that says, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. Now she knows that was G's mother, the woman who hums, after bread. Marisol looks around her bakery. The tables, the trays, the hand-painted signs Lena made. She thought she was selling baked goods, but maybe she's offering something much bigger. Moments of rest, tiny lifelines, a place where weary hearts are allowed to breathe. That night, she writes a letter of her own. Simple, warm, with a drawing of a cupcake and Pancho sleeping beside it. Dear G, you are very brave, and your words made my heart less tired too. Tell your mom I made extra bread this week just for her. Come by anytime, you're always welcome here. The bakery lady. She folds it, slips it into an envelope, tapes it behind the counter just in case the yellow backpack returns. Days pass. The girl doesn't come back, not right away. But something changes in Marisol. She starts leaving extra notes in random bags. You're stronger than you feel today. This bread was made with hope. Someone cares. And customers begin to notice. They smile. They take photos. They return sometimes not to buy, but just to sit. The bakery becomes more than warm. It becomes safe. 1 week later, at 7:10 a.m., the bell rings. The yellow backpack is back, but this time, the girl isn't alone. Her mother walks beside her pale, tired, but smiling. Not a big smile, but enough. Enough to let Marisol know the bread is working. The night is bone-deep cold. Marisol presses her hands to the bakery's oven just to steal its fading warmth. It's after 9:00 p.m. and the last customer left 2 hours ago. The street outside is empty. The neighborhood is sleeping or pretending to. She knows she should go home, but the apartment upstairs is colder and emptier. And Lena's already bundled in her blankets curled up next to Pancho, who somehow became not just their dog, but the building's unofficial heater. The oven creaks as it cools. The pilot light is dying again. And the repairman said it needs replacing, cost $308. She has $72 in the register. She sits in the corner booth arms crossed, trying not to cry. Not because of the money, not just because of the oven, but because she's exhausted. The kind of tired that lives in your bones and speaks in your dreams. The kind that makes you forget why you started. But then she looks at the wall in front of her and remembers the thank you notes are growing. She didn't plan it. They just appeared. First, the yellow scarf note, then one scribbled on a napkin. This bread reminded me that I'm not alone. Then another Your Bakery helped me survive my divorce. Now, the wall beside the register is a collage of humanity colors, fonts, languages. Stories written by strangers who felt something in this small, imperfect space. She gets up, walks over, runs her fingers across the edges of the paper. This wall is her paycheck. This wall is her fuel. This wall is why the heat doesn't matter tonight. By 4:30 a.m., she's back at it. The oven flickers weakly. The loaves rise slower than usual. She wraps herself in 2 sweaters. Pancho watches with tilted head, as if asking, why do you keep doing this? She answers aloud, because someone's going to walk through that door and need what we have here. He doesn't respond, but he doesn't leave either. At 6:57 a.m., the bell rings. An older woman enters, maybe late 70s, tightly wrapped in a quilted coat with big buttons and a brooch shaped like a dove. She walks with a cane and the calm of someone who's seen too much to be impressed by much. She walks straight to the counter. I heard you make bread with feelings in it, she says. That true? Marisol smiles, surprised. I suppose it is. Good, the woman says. I need some. They talk, slowly, honestly. The woman, her name is Ruth, lost her husband last spring. She hadn't cooked since. She barely ate. Until last week when a neighbor brought her one of Marisol's sweet rolls. It tasted like someone remembered me, she says softly. Marisol's hands tremble. She offers her a fresh concha. On the house. Ruth insists on paying, pulls out $10 for a $2 treat. Then she adds, you remind me of myself. 40 years ago, when I ran a bookstore and didn't know how strong I was until I had no choice. Before leaving, Ruth reaches into her bag and hands Marisol a small box. Something I used to keep in my window. Inside a small ceramic lamp, hand-painted, faded. Plug it in, it glows golden. Your space needs more light, she says. But I think you already carry it. That night, the bakery still has no heat. But the lamp glows softly in the window. And when customers walk by, bundled rushing, some of them stop, because it looks warm in there, even if it isn't. And that illusion or truth begins to draw more people in. Marisol learns that warmth isn't just heat. It's presence. It's eye contact. It's remembering someone's favorite flavor. It's the smell of bread when the world feels cold. And in that moment, even as her breath clouds in the air, she feels light. Because somehow this tiny bakery is melting something greater than ice. Isolation. It happens on a Thursday. The air outside is crisp touched with spring. Marisol is placing her 5th tray of cinnamon rolls on the rack. The kitchen hums with warmth, and for once the oven is working. The radio plays softly, and even Pancho seems content curled up under the counter. The bell over the door rings. She doesn't look up. Give me one moment, she calls cheerfully, still focused on the glaze dripping perfectly down the rolls. But it's not a customer. It's a clipboard. And a badge. Good morning, says a man's voice, sharp official. Health inspection. No notice required. I'll be quick. Marisol freezes, wipes her hands on her apron, turns around slowly. The man is in a city jacket logo stitched neatly over his chest. His eyes are cold, not cruel, just detached. Of course, she says, her voice trembling. Pancho lifts his head and growls lowly. She hushes him with a glance. He walks slowly through the bakery, jotting notes as he moves. Checks the fridge temperature, opens cabinets, measures the distance between shelves, taps a wall. Frowns at the cracked tile near the sink. Is this your only oven? He asks. Yes, she replies. It's old, but it's not up to current safety code. She nods slowly, swallows hard. He doesn't look up from his clipboard. Marisol remembers buying that oven secondhand from a friend's cousin who used to run a taco cart. It was all she could afford. She cleaned it for 2 straight days, prayed over it before the first bake. It may not shine like the ones in high-end bakeries, but it works, most days. And it's all she has. He finishes the walkthrough, stands at the counter. Pancho growls again. Ma'am, he says flatly, I'm issuing a compliance warning. Her heart sinks. You have 10 days to resolve the following issues, replace the oven update ventilation repair plumbing under the sink, and seal all floor cracks. She swallows. That'll cost about $2,000 minimum, he says, already walking toward the door. If not completed, you'll be temporarily shut down. The door swings open. The clipboard disappears. The bell jingles behind him like a cruel laugh. She stands still for a long time. Lena arrives from school calling out, Hey, Mama. Pancho rests his head on her feet. The cinnamon rolls sit untouched on the tray, cooling. Inside Marisol's chest, a slow panic builds. This isn't just an oven. This is everything. The customers, the thank you notes, the little girl with the yellow backpack, the woman who left the yellow scarf, all of it hanging by a thread. She serves customers that afternoon with a practiced smile, nods, thanks them, writes encouraging notes on paper bags. But her hands shake. She forgets to charge one woman for her second pastry, burns a tray of conchas, drops a glass. When the bakery finally empties at 7:00 p.m., she sits behind the counter, face in her hands. What if this is it? What if her story ends with a citation and a padlock on the door? She's tired of surviving, tired of fighting, tired of smiling through panic. And for the first time in months, she thinks about quitting. Closing quietly, walking away before she's forced to. Pancho nudges her leg, looks up at her. She strokes his head slowly, and then she notices something. Someone has slipped an envelope under the front door. She opens it. Inside a note, no name, no explanation. The way you love this place, we feel it. Don't give up. And taped to the back of the card, a folded 20 bill. It's not enough to fix the oven, but it's enough to fix her heart for one more day. She pins the note to the thank you wall, right in the center. And she whispers not just to Pancho or herself, but to something bigger. I'm not quitting. Not yet. 3 days. That's how long Marisol lets the weight hang in the air. She doesn't tell Lena about the inspector's warning. Doesn't tell her landlord. Doesn't even tell Ruth, who still stops by every Friday for a warm muffin and a quiet smile. She just works, bakes in silence, smiles when customers walk in, goes home with aching feet and questions that loop in her head like a broken lullaby. How much longer can I hold this up? What happens when the oven fails completely? Will they even notice if I disappear? And then on the 4th day, something strange begins to happen. It's taped to the tip jar, neon green, written in sharp black ink. You don't know me, but you saved me last Thursday. Thank you for the concha and the conversation. No name, no date, just that. Marisol blinks, looks around. The cafe is empty. She peels the note from the jar and holds it to her heart. There's something about this one. It feels different. So she walks to the wall, the one with the old thank you notes yellowed and curling at the edges, and she pins it in the center. That night she doesn't cry, not because she's fine, but because something inside her feels held. The next day, 3 more, taped to the counter, folded inside coffee sleeves, left under napkin dispensers. My mom and I came here the day after my dad left. This place made us feel like maybe we weren't abandoned after all. The cookie wasn't just a cookie, it was hope sugar-coated. Marisol's hands tremble as she reads each one. Then she pins them up. One by one. Until the wall isn't just a collage, it's a testament. Customers begin asking about the wall. Can anyone leave a note? Do you read them all? Do you know how powerful this is? She doesn't know what to say. She just smiles. I guess the wall knows more about this place than I do, Lena notices. Of course she does. Mama, she says softly, what if we gave people paper to write on? So they do. A small wicker basket appears next to the register. Pens, index cards, markers, stickers. The sign above it says, leave a note, light someone's heart. And they come. Some notes are long, some are drawings. Some are one-liners with shaky handwriting. First job interview today, came here for courage. Told my mom I'm gay. She hugged me after we shared a muffin here. My baby smiled for the first time while we sat in that corner booth. And slowly, the wall grows. It curves around the windows, sneaks toward the ceiling, covers the cracks in the plaster. People no longer come for the bread alone. They come for the proof that someone sees them, that this tiny, imperfect place matters. One night she stays after hours again, Pancho asleep at her feet. Lena curled on the bench with a book. She stands in front of the wall and reads, line by line. And for the first time in months, she lets the tears come not out of fear, but gratitude. Because somehow, when everything felt like it was falling apart, this wall was quietly building something stronger. Not a business, a community. Just before closing, a man walks in. Older, wears a suit that looks expensive but tired. He buys 2 loaves. Doesn't say much. Before leaving, he hands Marisol an envelope. I've walked past this place every day for months, he says. Today, I finally walked in. I don't know why, but I'm glad I did. He leaves. She opens the envelope after he's gone. Inside a check. Amount $2,500. The note attached reads, I lost my wife 2 years ago. Your wall made me believe in humanity again. Fix the oven? Keep feeding the soul of this city. She places the check under Pancho's sleeping paw, just for a laugh. Then she walks back to the wall, kisses the newest note softly, and whispers, maybe we're not just surviving anymore. The check changed everything. The oven is repaired within 4 days. A new thermostat, better insulation, and most miraculously, a technician who tears up when he sees the wall of notes. You don't charge enough, he mutters, adjusting a bolt. Marisol laughs for the first time in weeks. Not the small kind. The real kind, the kind that stays in your chest long after the sound is gone. But what comes next? she never saw coming. The story, the check the wall, the little bakery that healed people, begins to circulate online. It starts with a post from the technician's niece. Then a local journalist picks it up. Then a mom blogger with 80,000 followers reposts it with a caption, "Where bread becomes balm." Customers double in a week, triple in 2. But the best part, the women come, not with fanfare, not with Instagram stories. They show up in sweatshirts and long skirts, with kids on their hips, or paint on their fingers, or gray hair wrapped in pins. They buy bread, they leave tips, and then they stay. They ask, "What do you need? Can we help? Do you want help repainting the sign?" And Marisol, overwhelmed, says yes. On a quiet Sunday morning it begins. 10 women, then 15, then more. They repaint the sign Pani Corazon Bread and Heart. They clean the grout, patch the peeling paint, fix the loose leg on table 4. One of them, a former florist, brings hanging baskets full of herbs and color. Marisol watches stunned, speechless. One woman hands her a paintbrush and says, "You've been holding this place up alone for too long. Now let us hold it up with you." It turns into something more than a business. It becomes a hub, a place where flyers for neighborhood babysitters hang beside prayer requests and job listings. A woman offers free sewing lessons on Tuesdays. A teenage girl starts tutoring math in the back booth. Someone donates books, and soon there's a reading shelf. Take one, leave one. It's no longer just Marisol's bakery. It's theirs. Ruth, the elderly woman with the dove-shaped brooch, speaks quietly, but when she talks, people listen. She notices a pattern in the stories pinned to the wall. Many mention one problem: zoning laws, building permits, license restrictions. "Do you know how many women in this city want to open small businesses and can't?" she asks Marisol one evening. Marisol nods. "It almost stopped me too." Ruth says, "Let's do something about it." It starts as an idea: gather signatures, write letters. But Ruth knows people. She makes calls. She arranges a meeting with the city council. She prepares a 3-minute speech that turns into 10 because they won't stop clapping. She holds up a printed photo of the bakery's thank you wall. This, she says, is what happens when you stop treating community care like a luxury. Within a month, the city passes a local policy adjustment that simplifies permitting for small women-led businesses under a certain budget. They call it the Pani Corazon Clause. She didn't ask for this. She just wanted to bake bread. But now she's part of something so much bigger than muffins and warm coffee. She's a spark, and around her a fire of kindness spreads. The new sign hangs proudly. Beneath it, flowers, notes, laughter spilling from the tables. A little chalkboard stands on the sidewalk with Lena's handwriting. "You are loved. Come in for proof." Inside, Marisol pulls a fresh tray from the oven. Smiles. The heat is steady. The air smells like sugar and second chances. And through the window, a line of women holding flour bags. It starts with a phone call. Marisol is mixing dough when the landline rings, the old beige one taped together at the base. She almost doesn't answer, thinking it's the school or a spammer. But something nudges her. "Hola, Pani Corazon," she says, voice calm powdered with flour. "Is this Marisol Ortega?" a woman's voice asks. "This is Channel 9 News. We'd love to interview you. Your bakery is..." Well, it's become something of a movement. Marisol's hands go still. A movement. She was just trying not to burn the cinnamon rolls. The woman explains the bakery's story has gone viral. Not millions of views viral, but local real-life grassroots viral. Enough to reach morning television. A short interview, 5 minutes. They'll film at the studio downtown. She can bring her daughter if she'd like. Marisol swallows. Her heart thuds. She wants to say no, desperately. But then she looks at the wall of notes, the new sign, and the reading nook where a little girl is flipping pages quietly beside her mother. And she hears Ruth's voice in her head. The stories that change lives aren't always loud, but they deserve to be heard. So she says yes. She doesn't sleep much the night before. Rehearses answers in her head. Tries on 3 outfits. Settles on the one Lena says makes her look brave but friendly. Pancho seems confused when she leaves with makeup on. At the station, everything is shiny, bright, fast. Producers' lights, cameras, countdowns. Lena clutches her hand. "You've got this, Mama." Marisol smiles weakly. She isn't sure. They mic her up. Sit her under lights. A woman with perfect hair and a teeth-white smile begins. We're here today with the heart behind Pan y Corazon, the bakery melting the city's heart. Marisol Ortega, welcome. She turns to Marisol. Camera rolling, cue the smile. And nothing. Marisol's throat locks. Her palms sweat. Her mind goes completely blank. She stares into the lens and sees herself as a child, barefoot on a Guatemalan floor, watching her abuela knead dough with hands stronger than earthquakes. The host tries again. Tell us, what inspired you to open your bakery? Still nothing. Then Lena, sitting off stage, calls softly, Mama, just pretend it's me. Tell it like it's bedtime. And something breaks free. She exhales, looks at the host, smiles the real kind. I opened the bakery because I was tired of being invisible. And because I believed bread can do more than fill your stomach. It can remind you that you matter, that you're still here, that someone sees you. The host's smile softens. The camera crew glances at one another. It's not polished, not rehearsed, but it's true. And it lands. Backstage, she shakes. Lena hugs her tightly. You did it, her daughter whispers. You showed them who you really are. The producer rushes in, breathless. That was incredible, he says. We want to run a longer segment. Maybe even come film at the bakery. Marisol laughs through the nerves. I can't believe I froze. The producer smiles. You didn't freeze, you made it human. The interview airs the next morning. Customers double again. More notes appear. One reads, I saw you on TV. I've never felt brave enough to go anywhere until I saw you be nervous and do it anyway. I walked into your bakery this morning because of you. Marisol tapes that one to the ceiling. Courage, she realizes, isn't loud. It isn't glossy or glamorous. It's showing up, even when your voice shakes, even when your heart races, even when you think you have nothing to say. But say it anyway. And as she refills the cookie tray that afternoon, a customer walks in, holding a camera crew behind him. She straightens her apron and smiles. It's a Tuesday afternoon. Quiet, warm, the kind of day when the bakery smells like peace. Marisol is restocking the cookie display, humming a melody her grandmother used to sing while grinding maize. The light through the windows is soft golden. Poncho is curled beneath the register tail, twitching. The bell jingles gently. A man enters. Mid-50s maybe, gray at the temples, pressed slacks. His walk is slow, deliberate, not unsure but hesitant. His eyes scan the room. Then settle on her, and don't move. There's a pause, a strange stillness between them. He tilts his head, smiles faint like he's unsure she'll remember. Marisol blinks, her heart stutters. She knows that smile, that jawline, that voice when he finally speaks. Marisol, her breath catches. Mateo, it's been over 20 years. They were barely adults working at a summer cafe in Los Angeles. He washed dishes. She bussed tables. They talked during breaks, shared cigarettes and dreams they barely believed in. For a time, it was something close to love. But life scattered them like flour in the wind. He moved north. She stayed, then married, then divorced, then survived. And now he's standing in her bakery. He chuckles softly. I saw your photo on the local news. Thought, it can't be. But I had to come see. She wipes her hands on her apron, laughing nervously. You look older. So do you. They both smile. A memory flickers of coffee on the rooftop, her hair blowing in the breeze. Him saying, I think you're going to do something important someday. She never believed him. Until now. They take the corner booth. Lena watches curiously from the back, pretending not to eavesdrop. Mateo orders coffee and a cinnamon roll. They talk about now. He's in town for work, nonprofit leadership, 2 kids, widowed 3 years ago. She tells him about the bakery, the thank you wall, Poncho, Ruth, the girl with the yellow backpack, the anonymous note that saved her from quitting. He listens with quiet eyes. You always saw people, Mari, he says. I'm not surprised they're seeing you now. She asks why he really came. He pauses. I guess I just needed to see if it was true that people still build places with their bare hands and hearts. He sips the coffee. It's true, she says. Then adds, I'm glad you came. Before he leaves, he reaches into his coat and hands her a folded piece of paper. I kept this, he says. You gave it to me the day we said goodbye. She unfolds it slowly. It's old, yellowing, written in her own teenage handwriting. When you feel lost, find bread. Real bread. Someone's hands made it. It means someone still believes in feeding the world. She covers her mouth stunned. I wrote that. You did, and you meant it. They hug. The kind that holds 2 decades and lets them go in the same breath. No promises, no reunions, just a quiet reconnection. As he steps out, he turns and says, Marisol, you didn't just survive. You became what we all needed back then. She stands in the doorway, the note pressed to her chest. Sometimes the past circles back, not to haunt, but to honor. Not to reopen old wounds, but to show you how far you've healed. And in that moment, Marisol understands. She didn't build this bakery alone. She built it with every hand that held her even briefly, with every goodbye that shaped her. And now she is someone else's memory, the good kind. Spring comes early that year. The sidewalks bloom with chalk drawings and tulips grown wild through sidewalk cracks. The air carries the faintest sweetness. And inside Pani Corazon, something else is blossoming, not just business, but identity. Marisol stands in the doorway one morning and just listens. Not to silence, but to life. Laughter from the reading corner. The soft scrape of chairs. The sizzle of coffee. Pancho's tail thumping on the floor. And it hits her. This isn't just a bakery anymore. It's a sanctuary, and it's time to treat it like one. It starts with Lena's voice. Mama, what if the bakery had a mural? Marisol tilts her head. A what? A painting, a big one, on the wall, with all the people who've left notes. A mural. Marisol imagines it color and light spilling across the brick each brushstroke. A memory, a voice, a thank you. And that's how the renovation begins. The mural becomes a project. Teen artists volunteer. Paint is donated. Local moms organize bake sales to support the bakery that supported them. Even the city council chips in a grant for community art spaces. Marisol is stunned. I thought people forgot things like this, she says to Ruth one afternoon. Ruth smiles. No, mija. They just needed someone to remind them how. The floors are replaced tiles that don't creak. New tables arrive handmade by a father-daughter duo. The counter is extended. The sign out front is lit for the first time. A second oven is donated by a bakery across town anonymously. And on the side of the building, the mural grows. Faces, stories, names from the thank you wall. A swirl of colors wraps around the bricks like a hug. In the center, a woman kneading dough, face soft, strong, familiar. It's Marisol. She cries the day they unveil it. Not out of vanity, but because she sees who she has become, through others' eyes. With the space growing, the mission expands. The bakery becomes a classroom on Sunday's bread and belonging, free baking lessons for women starting over. Some are divorced, some are healing from loss, some are fresh out of shelters. They knead together, laugh together, cry over flour-covered counters and stories no one else made space for. And Marisol stands among them, apron-tied sleeves, rolled not as a business owner, but as a sister in the fight for dignity. One night, Lena says, can we put a tiny bread oven on the mural for Abuela? So they do. Painted with care, a little clay oven in the corner of the wall, flames rising a loaf glowing inside. It becomes a symbol. Not just for the past, but for how far the heat of hope can travel. Marisol starts a tradition. Every first Friday, the bakery opens its doors to anyone, no questions, no money needed. Just a plate, just a seat, just a name if they want to give it. She calls it Comida de Corazon, food from the heart. They come students, strangers, elders, children. They eat, talk, leave notes. And the wall grows. Again. Marisol sits on the bench outside watching the mural glow under the streetlights. She breathes in the scent of warm bread and cold air. A child runs past pointing to the painting. That's her, the bread lady. Marisol laughs, not shy, not afraid, because she isn't just the bread lady. She's the builder of belonging, the baker of stories, the woman who turned struggle into sanctuary. And now even the bricks carry her heartbeat. It's Marisol's birthday. She doesn't make a big deal out of it. Never has. The years blur together like flour and sugar in a bowl, soft, quiet, essential, but unmeasured. She wakes early as always, ties her apron, prepares a batch of cinnamon rolls her mother's recipe extra vanilla. The bakery feels calm today. No balloons, no banners. But there's something in the air, a stillness, a sweetness, like something's waiting. Pancho is extra clingy, following her everywhere. Lena keeps smiling too much. Marisol doesn't ask. By noon, the bakery is comfortably full. Ruth drops by with a bouquet of wildflowers and a kiss on the cheek. A customer leaves a cupcake-shaped candle on the counter. The mural glows under the sun, and the scent of honey and butter clings to the windows like perfume. Lena disappears into the back. "Be right back," she chirps. 10 minutes later, she returns with a small envelope lavender-colored, sealed with tape, and decorated with a crooked heart. "Open it," Lena says, practically bouncing. Marisol laughs, peels it open, and begins to read. "Dear Mama, I know you don't like big parties or surprises. So I wrote this. When I was little, I didn't understand why you were always tired. Why you cried at night and smiled in the morning. Why we didn't have a car or fancy things or matching socks. I used to wish you were like other moms. But now I know you are so much more. You are the strongest person I've ever seen. You built a home with cinnamon and kindness. You taught me that love doesn't always speak. Sometimes it's packed in a paper bag with a cookie and a note that says, 'You matter.' You made strangers into family. You made pain into power. You made me believe that one woman with enough heart can feed the world. I love you, Mama. I'm so proud to be your daughter. Happy birthday. Your little girl, always Lena Marisol, doesn't cry right away. She just holds the letter. Breathes it in like it has scent, like it smells of sugar and safety, and all the nights she went without sleep wondering if she was enough. She hugs Lena, tighter than usual, and whispers, 'Thank you for seeing me.' Word spreads fast. Someone saw the letter, took a photo, shared it online. People begin walking in with birthday wishes. One woman brings a tray of tamales. Another offers free haircuts to any customer who shows their bakery receipt. By sunset, the bakery is full not of noise, but of love. A teenager plays guitar softly in the corner. A family brings their newborn and names the baby Marisa in her honor. Even the mural glows a little brighter, kissed by the amber hue of dusk. Later that night after closing, Marisol rereads the letter. Then she writes her own note. I didn't know I was building a legacy. I just wanted to make rent and stay warm. But maybe that's how all legacies begin, with quiet, unglamorous love. She pins it to the center of the thank you wall. Not for the customers, not even for Lena, but for herself. A reminder that every tired morning and burned batch and borrowed smile meant something. Outside, the sky deepens to navy. Inside, the bakery is still. The scent of bread lingers. Pancho breathes softly beneath the counter. The lavender envelope lies beside the register, glowing under the lamp Ruth once gifted. And Marisol, she turns off the lights, smiles in the dark. Because finally, she knows. She didn't just raise a daughter. She raised a generation of hope. There's something sacred about the early hours. The world is still asleep. The streetlights flicker. The air holds a hush that doesn't exist anywhere else in the day. It's in this quiet, this pause before the noise that Marisol finds herself most clearly. The oven clicks to life. The dough is ready. The world once again waits to be fed. She thinks about what it took to get here. The eviction notices, the days without power, the cracked tiles, the moments she nearly walked away. She remembers the strangers who turned into family. The child with the yellow backpack. The man with the cupcake and no words. Ruth with her quiet wisdom. The women who painted her name on the wall. The daughter who saw her clearly, even when Marisol couldn't. Each one left a fingerprint on this place. Each one reminded her that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's baked into crusts and carried on notes left behind. Marisol used to believe she was just a baker. Now she knows. She's a memory maker, a healer in an apron, a builder of second chances, a feeder of forgotten spirits. And the bakery, it's not a business. It's a story people walk into and leave changed. She arranges the loaves just right, turns the sign to open, places a sticky note beside the register. Today's message reads, "What you rise from is who you feed." Because Marisol knows she doesn't just feed the hungry. She feeds the hurting, the grieving, the searching, the tired mothers, the anxious teens, the invisible elders, the overworked souls. And she feeds herself with every act of care that says, you are still here. You are still enough. There's barely any space left. Notes from floor to ceiling, smudged ink, torn corners. Translations in Spanish, Korean, Arabic, Spanglish. They're not just messages. They're proof Proof that one woman's courage repeated every day at 4:30 a.m. can ripple outward like warmth through winter. One evening as they're closing up, Lena asks Mama, "Do you ever wish you had chosen something easier?" Marisol smiles, wipes her hands on her apron. "No, because if I had, who would have fed them?" The next morning, a customer walks in quiet hands, shaking eyes red from tears. Marisol doesn't ask questions. She simply offers a small paper bag. Inside one warm roll, a napkin with a handwritten note. "You matter, please stay." The customer hugs her and leaves lighter. Marisol didn't change the whole world. She changed her corner of it. And for the people who walked through her doors, that was enough. Maybe that's all any of us are meant to do. Rise, show up, and feed someone with whatever we have. If it were you, what would you do? Would you open the door? Would you share your warmth? Would you believe that something small like bread, like kindness, like one woman who refused to quit, could be the beginning of everything? Tell us in the comments. What did this story make you feel? Have you ever met a Marisol? Or have you been one?